a troublemaker. I've been a late night player. I've been broke as a joke. I've been a money maker. I've been a record breaker, taking credit as an educator. I've been known to spit the flows and make it shaky, shaky thing. Popping, lock, and stop and let it hang. Watch us as we drop this hip hop, it's like it stings. We make a whole room drop and everybody sing. We want the funk. We gotta have that funk. We kick it old school. We think we're so cool. We take it back to the past. We gonna act a fool. Up jumps the middle finger. Make my Jaeger just a little.
Well, as a Fanatical View, I am your host, Scott D. Lewis, here live in studio, Comcast Cable Channel 23, downtown Denver, Connecticut, on this first day of summer, June 21st, the summer solstice. I believe it is the longest day of the year as far as sunlight goes, and I kind of concur with that. Driving home late last night after 9 o'clock, even though it was cloudy, I could see at the horizon line that it was still actually bright out, and that was around 9:15. So there is plenty of long days, long sunshine right now, although we are now turning in the other direction. Hashtag summer solstice overrated, because it's the last day of the lengthening of days. Now it becomes the shortening of days. Very odd that the first day of summer would begin the shortening of days. I don't know. I'm a winter solstice guy myself. Anyways, we are live. 203-792-4101 is the number. I am flying solo. It is also First Responders Night over at Rogers Park. Danbury Westerners are in action tonight, and they are paying tribute to all the first responders in the area. Of course, we know our man Big Bob Brought Jr. is over there as a first responder and also as an integral part of the Westerners team action over there. So he may call in. We shall see. Bob's show is Spotlight on Tuesday nights at 9, Wednesdays at 12. And also our director, Mike Toohey, is here. He's running solo. And his show, Expose Cinema, Friday nights at 9, Wednesdays at 1. We'll see how he does. I will not see how we do, because it is a crazy world down here, as we were off again last week as we continue this on again, off again schedule. Last week it was because the studio got another upgrade, all new technology once again. So the graphics are a little different tonight as we're trying to get up to speed. There's no monitor in place. I can't see what's happening with the show, so I have no idea if Mike's going to mess things up. I'll never be able to see. I don't even know if the camera shots look good. I don't know anything that's going on, but hopefully Mike, he did a show this afternoon, and we'll see how he does with the live show tonight, and hopefully everything runs smoothly. Our number, 203-792-4101. I don't even think we have a graphic for that, do we? So maybe I'll have to repeat that as the show goes on. 203-792-4101 if you want to call. We'll see if Bob calls. Maybe Strange Man calls. He's been chirping on my voicemail lately again. So we'll see. But hopefully everything runs smoothly as we go on. There was day of baseball today. Getaway day for every team. The Red Sox, Yankees, and the Mets all played this afternoon. Red Sox were in Minnesota, the Twin City. They did win 9-2 after being sleepless after that Seattle trip, as they went silent with their bats the last two nights, losing 2 games in a row to Minnesota. But they did come back with a nice 9-2 win to get out of town today before heading home. And then okay road trip, a good series in Seattle where they went 2-2. They moved the record to 50-26, which has them 2 games back of the Yankees. They've played 4 games still more than the Yankees. The Yankees did make up 2 games on the standings as far as games played, with that completion of the suspended game with the Nationals and the rained out game on Monday. They split that, and then they just came home and swept Seattle after Seattle split 2-2 with the Red Sox in Seattle over the weekend. But the Yankees won this afternoon 4-3. After last night's thrilling come-from-behind game, they were down 5-0 in that game, cut it to 5-2. Then made it 5-3, tied it in the 8th on a Gary Sanchez home run for 5-5. And then Giancarlo Stanton does it in the 9th with the walk-off 2-out home run, 2-run homer for the 7-5 victory. So the Yankees continue to be the best team in baseball, the team that makes it that we don't really even need to talk about baseball because they're going to be the greatest team ever. They're going to win 120 games. They're going to maybe never even lose another game this year. They're going to win the World Series. There's really no reason to talk about baseball, but we'll manage to mention a few things here and there throughout the summer just to keep us interested somewhat. But the Yankees, obviously the greatest team of all time, on their way to a new dynasty and being the single most greatest team ever in a single season with another win today, 4-3. Mets, on the other hand, fall to 31 and 41. Yankees, I should mention, 50 and 22 record. Mets fall to 31 and 41 with a 6-4 loss in Colorado today. So now they've lost 3 in a row again after giving their fans a little bit of a breather from losing all the time, as they won 3 in a row coming out of the weekend into the beginning of the week. But no, they now lose 3 in a row to the Rockies before heading back home to take on the Dodgers. And we'll mention some things in the standings. I'll mention the Dodgers, and we'll stick with that for a second. Dodgers now 38 and 35. I think they are 22 and 9 since their very bad start to the season. So they are still in second place, however, as the Diamondbacks are the team out front at 40 and 33. The Rockies are a little bit below 500, so they're just behind the Dodgers. So maybe that's turning into a 2-team race. I believe the phone is ringing, so I shall answer it and see who we got. Hello, this is Sports Buzz. You are live. Who is on the line?
Hey, Scotty, Strange Man, checking in. How's it going today?
Not too bad, Strange Man. How you doing? We're talking baseball to start the show. What do you got for us?
You're talking baseball. Okay, listen. Are you going to do a show next week?
Yes, I think we're going to be finally live for 2 weeks in a row for once.
Okay, look, I'll try to be down there next week. I have a baseball trivia question, and I'll give out the answer next week. And so we got a big anniversary this month on June 30th. I'm not going to give out the answer, but it's the anniversary of the first baseball stadium.
First baseball stadium. Do we know what year?
Yeah, it's the 109th anniversary this month. And I'll give one more hint. There is a 100-year-old or 100 years young usher that works at the stadium. And the stadium opened 9 years before he was born. So if you have a show next week, I'll give it the answer next week. Stadium.
Does it have to be called a stadium? Could it be maybe it's a park or maybe it's a field?
Yeah, it was officially called the first baseball stadium to come in
Is
existence.
is it still in existence?
Yes, it is.
Because there's the 100-year-old usher working at it, so you gave that clue. All right. How about this for a stat, Strange Man? The Red Sox beat the Twins today. And after today's game, their record against the Twins, they tied them up all time. I think they're 310 and 310. Something in the 300s is they're all even, as the records between the two teams in their history of playing are even. Interesting stat right there. You got anything else for us, Strange Man?
Yeah, and let me get this stuff out. I did want to say condolences to Mr. Constantino's family. Basically, I grew up right down the street from Mr. Constantino in Ridgefield, so we were basically neighbors, and I rode the bus with his daughter, so deep condolences. Mr. Constantino was a great guy. He was like the co-founder of the NECBL, is that correct?
Yes, and they're doing tributes.
And also, I heard about Mr. Connors, the Yankee pitching coach, passed on. He was called the Pitcher Whisperer.
Yes.
And he was out of New York, I think Rochester or Syracuse, one of those two. But he had 5 World Series rings, and I never knew that. So
yes, but what else? Strange Man, what else did he win?
Mr. Connors?
Yes.
Yeah, he won. When he was younger, he was on an all-star team that won the Little League World Series.
Little League World Series, correct.
Yes. Okay, and also, I didn't know if you knew this, but about 5:30, I heard that Kevin Ollie was fired from his UConn basketball coaching job. Did you hear about that?
Well, he's been fired for a while now. They fired him right at the end of the season, but they're going through litigation. So his name was back in the news this week as they are trying to settle and state their case for not paying off his contract because they say they had just cause. So there is a legal battle over the contract and whether or not they will have to pay it off or if he will not get it because they fired him for just cause. But he is...
Okay, well, I guess the UConn president upheld the conviction, or...
well, it's still in
the
the... I think it's still...
NCAA violations. Also, kudos to Mike Francesca, because I guess he was inducted in the category of the industry group in the Radio Hall of Fame this year. And you can go on Radio Hall of Fame, and it will be the 30th year for the induction ceremony, and that will be in New York City. So did you know that Mr. Francesca got inducted?
No, I may have heard that, but I don't know. I don't pay that much attention to the Pope these days.
Okay, and maybe we could talk about quickly the Bees. I know there's going to be some changes for the Bruins.
Yeah, yeah.
So we'll just leave it at that. And also,
well, I don't know that there'll be that many changes. They're just going to have to be. They're just going to have to be better.
Why did the Capitals coach suddenly leave after he won the Stanley Cup?
Well, he was a lame duck coach. They did not have him under contract for any further years, and he was on the hot seat the entire season. We know the Capitals have the choking dog history, which they reversed. Remember, they went down 0-2 in their first series to start the playoffs this year, and there was a lot of talk that he would be fired, or at least not. They would not offer him a new contract. So he played the entire season without any security. He won them the Stanley Cup, and he said, you know what, and I guess whatever they offered him, and after the fact wasn't good enough, and he said no. And guess where he signed today? Did you hear where he is now the new head coach of?
No, I missed that. Where did he sign?
New York Islanders.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow. Also, we can touch on the Seas quick. They made a heck of a run of it, Scotty. A very young team.
Right.
And they did it without their best player. So I'm going to leave it at that. You know, it was a great run of it for the Seas.
It was an amazing run, yeah, absolutely
there's
tremendous.
Nothing, they can't hang their head. And next year, you know, they're going to go through the summer leagues to keep on learning, and we'll see what happens next year. Also, I do want to give praise to the Rangers goalie that is still gone. He's in a category with only one other goalie in the history of the NHL. I forget. I didn't get a chance to look it up. I think it's for shutouts. So he's been there a long time. He's still gone. Also,
the king, Henrik Lundqvist.
That Tom Brady may be retiring at 45. Did you hear about that?
I mean, all the talk about Tom Brady, I can't take it. I don't really care about any of that either. He's playing. He's under contract. This is all just stuff to fill the newspapers and have talking points for people to talk about. We have a short show here, so I don't spend any time on it.
Just one more thing. The Red Sox and Yanks rivalry, I love it. The Red Sox are only, 2 games back right now?
Right.
They won today. The Yankees did win today.
Yep.
So you're going to watch that all summer long, and it's going to be a great rivalry.
Strange man, you had left me a voicemail. Tom Brady is 41, and he hinted that he'll play until 45. So I don't think you knew how old he was. So he's 41. So he's.
Oh, he is 41.
Yeah.
Okay. And so that's about it. I know you have the rest of the show to do. So I will say.
All right, we got a lot of
Strange Man over and out, and hopefully I'll be down there in the studio next week to give the answer on the trivia question.
Sounds good. Thanks, Strange Man.
All right, take care.
Bye. All right, so where were we? Major League Baseball. Let's skip over to the Westerners game tonight because that took up a lot of time. We already talked about Red Sox, Yankees, and Mets, and we'll leave it at that. Westerners playing tonight. They have fallen to 7-7. They were in first place for a little while. They've lost, I think, 3 out of the last 4. A walk-off loss last night, 6-5. They were leading 5-4 going into the 9th inning, and they did not hold the lead. So things are starting to unravel slightly for them, but overall still at 7-7. There's been a lot of thrilling games. They've had some crazy blowout losses, but also some games where they scored a ton of runs. They won a 1-0 game So there's still good things happening down at Rogers Park and on the road in the NACBL for the Westerners. They need to right the ship quickly. They don't want to get in the trend they had last year where they would get very streaky with wins and losses, and the losing streaks undid them throughout the course of the season. They got to, stem off these losing streaks and just keep chipping away. But they are 7-7. They're playing right now on a nice night, beautiful day today over at Rogers Park. So we'll see how they do as the season goes on, and we will continue to keep track of their season as we go. All right, let's get to the World Cup because it has been locked and loaded every day, all day, 3 games at least. A couple days we had 4 games. Today's action, pobrecito, Argentina 3-0 loss to Croatia. The Argentines are in big, big trouble right now after their second game in the group. Iceland tied them 1-1 in the first game, and you knew it was all of a sudden going to be tough. Croatia, a very difficult team, and they scored 3 goals on them in the second half today. I will take the time also to mention our friend Joe Jet Net, whose wife is an Argentinian. He had surgery at the beginning of this week. It was a pretty serious surgery, I will say, but he got through it, and he is recovering nicely. The question is, was his Argentinian wife more stressed about the surgery or more stressed about Argentina? I was texting with her today during the game, and she is beside herself. So Argentina is in a desperate spot right now. They are going to need help, it seems right now, as Iceland's in that group. And Iceland, here was an interesting stat, came out of the 1-1 game against Argentina last week. Argentina has more registered citizens as soccer players in their country than Iceland has people in its country. Unbelievable. Iceland's the darling of everybody right now, and I think Iceland will probably win against Nigeria tomorrow, and that will really put Argentina in a desperate situation with 1 game left in the group stage. There's been great action. Today's game, France 1-0 over Peru. Denmark 1-1 against Australia. Some of the big games that have taken place so far. How about Brazil, who's in a tight spot right now after they tied 1-1 against Switzerland earlier in the tournament. They play tomorrow, first thing in the morning, against Costa Rica, who lost their first game. So Costa Rica is going to look for a big win. Mexico, I say this is not a shock. People who are shocked by this clearly have not been paying attention to what has been going on in the last couple of years. I think Mexico has had maybe the biggest and best results overall in the world in the last 2-3 years. They beat the defending champions 1-0 against Germany in the first game of their leg. So that was a great win. How about Ronaldo with 4 goals total in his first 2 games as he and Portugal in a thrilling first game against Spain, 3-3. He got a hat trick in that game, including the late game tying set piece goal. A tremendous strike by him. He is the opposite end of the spectrum. It's always Ronaldo and Messi. Messi for Argentina can't get anything done. He's clearly playing with the weight of the world and pressure and expectations. And Ronaldo is playing loose and free. It's interesting because Portugal has had so many past failures and not really advanced much in big tournaments that I think expectations were lowered on Ronaldo, and it's allowed him and Portugal to now suddenly play free with no expectations as Mike the Met Maniac walks in. We're happy to see him showing up. It's interesting, and Messi has had great success, except for in the championship games coming up short, so now they're playing with too many expectations and too much weight of failed games in the finals. And you can see how it's affecting both teams and both players. Russia, the host nation, they are through with 2 impressive performances. Uruguay and France are both already through. I think Croatia is already through with 1 game left in their group stages. Senegal with a nice surprise. They are shocking some people early. England had a great first win. They're calling it England with Harry Kane with the big performance in that win in their first game. So interesting stuff going on with World Cup. I've been into it throughout, and I'm looking forward to some more games tomorrow and through the weekend. And then they'll get into the final game 3 of the group phase before we see who advances to the round of 16. It's been tremendous. Mike, have you been watching any World Cup or paying attention at least?
Actually, I haven't been able to look at a lot of the World Cup, Scott.
Yes, I know your work schedule probably. You're not like me. You don't have it on your phone with your headset on and listening as the day goes on, as you're working and trying to find ways to tune in even though you're working.
Yeah, it's very hard this time. Absolutely.
All right. I am been pulling that off. I've been missing some of the games, but I have actually been tuning in quite a bit at work, so that's been good. It's been tremendous. I mean, I love it. I don't really, USA's out, Italy's out, Netherlands are out, some big teams are out. My, 2 teams I'd pay attention to mostly, Italy first before USA, but it hasn't affected me much. I've been locked in. It's just a spectacle. The fans, everybody, the games are intense. I mean, it's crazy what happens in these games. You got like a game like, Peru, they're pressing hard. They haven't been in since 1982. They get all these opportunities. Nothing happens for them. But then you see a team like Spain. They're playing a game yesterday against Iran. Iran has all the chances in the world. Nothing happens for them. And then Spain gets a double bounce, ricochet ball off a defender, and it goes in. So it's crazy how the teams that are historically the best teams find ways to win these games, and the other teams that are just trying for that one magical moment have great opportunities, but the ball never finds the back of the net for them. It's really intense to see how it goes down. But when it does, you get a team like Iceland come out of nowhere in their first ever World Cup. They scored their first ever World Cup goal against Argentina, and you see the live shots coming from Iceland. It's just tremendous what takes place and how it can really raise up the spirits of a whole nation for these, one moments, one game. Even if they can advance somehow out of the group stage into the single elimination games, it'd be just tremendous to see some of these smaller teams with limited success, or teams that have not been in a long time, like Senegal. They're trying to break up all this stuff. The last time they were in was 2002, and they made it to the quarterfinals, I believe. They're trying to do it again. They came out with a big win to start. So we'll see what happens with teams like that. And, of course, the big teams, like Brazil and Germany and Argentina already in huge trouble. So if, those teams get knocked out early, it's always a big story. So we'll see what happens. Other big stories that took place while we were gone, though, Mike. Justify wins the Triple Crown at the 150th running of the Belmont out on Long Island. After his first 2 races went down in the rain, he got a nice day out there on the island. 90,000 people, I believe, were in attendance. And another close race, he won over Gronkowski, who was out in those first 2 races, won by 1 3/4 lengths. So he basically, all 3 races were tight. It was one hell of a performance by Justify to win tight races throughout. As horses were trying to run him down, he went wire to wire in this race. He came from that inside position, and he got to the lead at the first turn, and he held off all the contenders who were trying to chase him down, and he held on. So that's the second Triple Crown winner we've had in the last 4 years. We mentioned in 2015 when the American Pharoah won it that sometimes once that weight of the drought is lifted, they come in bunches. And so here we have it, 2 in 4 years, and it's the 13th Triple Crown ever after the 37-year drought. So we'll see what that does for horse racing. Great job by Justify winning the Triple Crown. This past weekend out on Long Island as well, we saw back-to-back U.S. Open champion Brad Koepka gets it done, and he does it in impressive fashion. Shinnecock really, the course played miserable for everybody, but he got it done. Only, I think, 7 guys have won back-to-back. Enjoying an impressive list. Did you see any of that with the Mickelson meltdown on Saturday? Did you have any take on that?
Well, you can tell, I guess, the word frustrated.
Yeah, a little bit. That was rare. I mean, John Daly did it years and years ago where he hit a ball that was moving, that was rolling back off the green, and it was going to go into a terrible spot. Mickelson's been getting beaten up. I don't think this really tarnishes his legacy all that much. He is a man of the people. I think the regular, everyday golfer can relate to the frustration that Mickelson felt. So, you know, he did melt down, but Kafka gets it done back-to-back U.S. Open, so that was impressive. Nadal won his 11th French Open, so that was impressive for him as well. He is firmly back on top of his game after some years of being down with injury, but he had the great year last year. We'll see what happens. Federer did not play in the French Open. He is won the tune-up in the grass courts, so Federer will be back for Wimbledon. We'll see what happens in that. And Simona Halep finally got her first, and she beat the American Sloane Stephens in a great match. Went 3 sets on that. So it was Halep getting it done for her first ever, but hats off to Sloane Stephens for getting, you know, after the U.S. Open Championship last year, she gets it to the French Open final. So maybe she is setting herself up for being a great player going forward, and an American, a younger American besides Serena, who got beaten in this French Open as she came back from her pregnancy. And then we were mentioning with Strangeman on the phone, the Capitals did get their first ever Stanley Cup, and Barry Trotz, crazy, their manager leaves afterwards, less than 2 weeks later. But how about that for the Capitals? It was a great moment for them beating Vegas, the upstart expansion team Vegas. They did it in 6, and that was a great game. Game 6, the finishing game. They did not want to come back for a Game 7. They did get it done. So great job for them. And it was a thrilling 1-goal lead, 1-goal victory for them. And I think they're probably still celebrating his, you know, what's his name, the grade 8, Ovechkin. Is he still drunk, we think?
I believe so.
He has been partying like there was no tomorrow. And of course, the Warriors, as we only got 1 minute left, swept the Cavs. Any comment on that?
Not surprising.
Not surprising at all. Can you really be a king, or do you have to be a pawn to be swept?
If you've gotten swept, and with this record, you can't be a king. I'm sorry.
I mean, he's been swept twice now, been beaten 4-1 twice, been beaten 4-2 twice. He's no king, and he's looking for a new team. I mean, give me a break with the Brian love. But we did miss all that, so I did want to mention it all. Those things went official and final. A lot being done. We'll be back live next week. We'll try to figure out this new system, get things even smoother, and we'll get more into baseball and settle into summertime, and also be checking in on the World Cup. So I think we are out of here, and that's it. So thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week.